What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through a massive 15-game slate. That's the most games we can have, as every NBA team is in action in advance of tomorrow's day off for Election Day. Mike, how are you doing? You've got a long matchups column already out for the subscribers. How are you handling the 15-game monster today?
Yeah, not that long. I just did macro notes because I wanted to make sure I was ready to go and get all our minutes checked and be ready to go for what should be a heavy betting day for the subs. And yeah, this is not doesn't get any bigger than that. So we'll try to keep this tight so we can get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. The NBA is also starting every game in 15-minute increments throughout a 5.5 hour stretch or 3.5 hour stretch, excuse me. So we'll have 15-minute start times throughout the night, all night until 10:30 Eastern time. Which, for those of you like watching and enjoying the games, that's got to be pretty fun if you had like the ability to just like one game's going to be a little bit ahead of the next and just keep flipping around from like a red zone perspective. But for people trying to do projections when lineups are coming out, it's just going to be a constant array of games. Let's get to the injury report. Let's start with Milwaukee and Cleveland. On the Milwaukee side, Giannis Antetokounmpo questionable here with right adductor strain. Pat Connaughton probable left adductor strain. Out tags for AJ Johnson, Chris Middleton, Marjon Beauchamp, and Chris Livingston. What's your read on Giannis's availability tonight?
Yeah, don't have much here. He posted a social media thing. He looked like he was walking fine. He busted out his dad jokes that he liked. What do you call a witch on a beach? A sandwich. That was his dad joke. Yeah, so I don't know. No history here. He's had a lot of knee stuff. We know he's been listed with that knee thing, but no history of this adductor thing. So think he's gonna play, but it is listed as a strain. That's always a concern. So if he didn't, this is a big line. This is probably gonna when the Q tag came out, the line moved to 1.5. It might move like 3. I mean, they're pretty thin here. Keeping an eye on if they, promote AJ Johnson, something like that. That could be a bit of a tell that maybe Giannis may not go. So something I'm watching there. If we are still waiting on Giannis this later, if he didn't play, quite obviously they would have to start Bobby Portis, and those guys could be looking at huge minutes here. And then a little bit more Andre. I think DeLon Wright's on a minutes limit on just gathering what Duck Rivers has been saying, so he wouldn't play too much. And then Pat Connaughton would play a little bit more as well. But this thing would be pretty tight in a matchup. I think that the Cavs would smash them. Cavs are on a back-to-back. Donnie hits a game winner. The Giannis Q tag could really, really hurt the Bucks' chances to get this win.
Yeah, this is a home and home, unlike the baseball series that we've seen before. This game will be in Cleveland, and as you mentioned, Cleveland was on a back-to-back in this one. Bucks were extending their starters, and what looked like they were treating this as like kind of a must-win game, and they come out on the other end 1-5 now. So Cleveland side of things, questionable tags on Karis LeVert and Dean Wade. Karis LeVert listed right knee soreness. Dean Wade listed with illness. That was an ad today, so a later ad than the Karis LeVert news. Still without Max Strus, and Jalen Tyson is listed out with a left hip sprain as well. What are your expectations for LeVert and Wade tonight?
Yeah, we know LeVert's been injured a lot, but it actually hasn't been this knee. His knee history has been like contusion, so like banging his knee and stuff. So should be something where he's, he could be back. I don't have a great read, but it's LeVert generally has taken longer to recover. As he sat out, the kind of low key, obviously Donnie with the game winner. But Isaac Okoro played really well, hit some shots, was the main defender on Dame Lillard. He would, and Dean Wade, who you mentioned, late Q tag, didn't go through shoot around, certainly trending like he's not going to play. And then Okoro would certainly slide in there and probably play a pretty good bit. Sam Merrill had some huge shots here. He was great. So those guys would benefit the most if LeVert and Wade wouldn't play. And then, we bring in more Craig Porter Jr., Ty Jerome may get some overlap, some shooting guard minutes as well. They've still got a little bit of depth, even without. If they lost all that, they're kind of done without Max Strus already. So, they still got enough depth overall. Maybe just maybe we get heavy minutes. Hasn't happened. The Cavs have 0 players over 30 minutes per game.
Yeah, this was essentially like a 9-man rotation. I know 10 players played, but the minutes split between Jerome and Porter Jr. here is equivalent to like a 9th man in the rotation. You take out Wade, we're down to like maybe an 8-man rotation with kind of a split on Jerome and Porter as that 8th man. So it does get quite tight unless they were to bring in like JT Thor kind of into the mix. Let's move to Golden State and Washington. Another star player with a Q tag here on Golden State is Steph Curry, listed questionable with the left peroneal strain. D'Anthony Melton out, right lower back strain. Brandon Pojemski available, face mask, love the tag. Andrew Wiggins probable, low back strain. What are your notes on Steph's availability tonight?
Yeah, went through a workout yesterday and was kind of sounded like he's going to get the Q tag today. He already went through shoot around, getting some shots up on the Washington floor. So it's trending like he's going to play. They might just give it one more, considering the history he's had with these ankle injuries. So we'll see. Probably going to be game time at best. But yeah, he could be out there. Probably have a little bit of a cap on him. Ankle injuries don't have like hard caps like hamstrings do, but would expect him, given his age and history, to be managed there. But mostly positive signs that he would be out there, but they may just be cautious. If he didn't play, Pods would certainly start again. Likely win the starting lineup back with Moody and Andrew Wiggins. It sounds like they're going to keep Kuminga off the bench. You may remember that Kerr first cited spacing for why he pulled him out, and then you get the Shams graphic for benched. But the messaging from Draymond, from Kerr, it sounds like they like him in this bench role, and he's been really good. His last 3 games, you could roast me, but Kuminga has had a positive impact on this game. Really productive in overtime in this game on screen here. So especially defensively. So yeah, expecting Steph in. So I think if Steph is in, that would I think move Pods to the bench, but it could move Moody out because Pods has been a big factor overall. So yeah, don't have a great read how it's going to shake out. Then they probably. I'm curious on your thoughts. They might just start Pods because Pods has shown some pretty strong minutes here. Who do you think would start if Steph's back in?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Kerr always feels like he just doesn't want to play Moses Moody under any circumstance. So, I think Moses Moody has given more reasons to play him than not play him over the years, and he just doesn't seem to like it. So, I think it would probably be Moody going to the bench. And yeah, to your credit, I mean, Kuminga was awesome in this game for sure. Yeah, we don't need to praise the one assist or the one good pass. I mean, it was all good. The defense was good. The driving to the rim was good. I've said for 2 or 3 years now, if Kuminga just legitimately never dribbled the basketball on the court, he'd be so effective. Or if he had like a 2 dribble limit to himself, that I can dribble the ball twice and then I have to pass it or shoot it, he'd be so much better because it just as a cutter, as somebody who runs the floor in transition, that's his most effective self. And he was there for sure. Okay. Let's move to the Washington side of things where Malcolm Brogdon, Kyle Kuzma, Sadiq Bey all listed out, and then Marvin Bagley listed questionable with a non-COVID illness here. We've seen Washington kind of run up the studs of late. What are your expectations? Studs, young guys is what I meant to say. The studs. That's probably getting a little bit out of ourselves on Bilal, who's had a great start to the season, and Bub Carrington and Alex Sarr. But they've been running up the younger guys, as they alluded to, kind of coming into the season. If Bagley's unavailable, I don't think it matters too much, but what are your expectations here on what we see from Washington, who's had a little bit of changes with their starting lineup against the Warriors? That would certainly seem to be a smaller starting lineup unit, but what are your thoughts here on Washington tonight?
Yeah, Rich Holmes, aka the Mansion. If he'd be in there, if Bagley didn't play, very little. And they might just cut that out. They'll just run Sarr as a straight 5, which they've mostly been doing anyways. But maybe Sarr's minutes come up here. Coming off a pretty good game against Miami, had some their rim protection numbers are pretty good, relative to where they were last year. They're actually average rim protection stuff. So shout out Alex Sarr. Offense is a mess. That's a whole nother. We're gonna try to be quick here, but yeah, I feel pretty good about this starting lineup here with Keyshawn George, Poole, Bilal Coulibaly. He just keeps on smashing offensively. We took another under on him after we're gonna martingale this one, and then Bub Carrington played a ton. Looks like they're going to kind of run those guys up pretty tight. Corey Kispert, pretty bad game, but the minutes are really strong off the bench. And then, Johnny Davis and the other guys will kind of fill in here. But, it doesn't sound like Kuzma is particularly close. So they'll keep rolling this out there.
Yeah, Coulibaly's been just awesome to start the season. My guy, attacking the rim really aggressively, shooting the ball with confidence. I mean, shooting 57% from 3 to start the season. It's been a wild difference from the Olympics where he couldn't crack the rotation in kind of important moments. And then the preseason, he wasn't very good in the preseason. And then the last 4 games, he's just turned it on in a big way. So it's been nice to see from Bilal Coulibaly, who's definitely getting a bigger role there. In Jordan Poole revenge tonight, do you think it goes well or poorly for Jordan Poole tonight in his revenge effort against the Warriors?
I mean, he's going to shoot. That's for sure. But I don't know. Their defense has been really good. Switch heavy scheme against Poole sounds like kind of bad. So,
Yeah.
I haven't thought. I don't know what the line is, but I would probably lean on taking
It's around
an under
10.
there. I think that
Yeah.
I think that Poole gets kind of. I think that like the Warriors match up so well with how the Wizards
Yeah.
play. They've just owned transition on both ends,
Yep.
which is where the Wizards want to make their money. So I thought about betting this. So I think the Warriors completely smoke them, especially if Steph's in.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Lakers and Detroit. Lakers, very full injury report to get through today. We'll quickly go through. G Leaguers are out. Christian Wood, Jared Vanderbilt still out. Probable tags on Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Davis. Will note the probable tag for D'Angelo Russell was upgraded from a questionable tag earlier with a right foot contusion. So it seems like we'll have all the Lakers available tonight in Detroit. But what are your notes here on the Lake Show?
Yeah, you mentioned new injury for D'Lo did get upgraded to probable, so that's an indication he should be in there. As I mentioned on, I think Friday, that we're gonna get this Anthony Davis hip P tag for a while. We know the Lakers once you get a tag, they keep it on there, which we saw last year. So expecting that P tag to stick around for a while. Other than that, not too much to say. D'Lo played actually a pretty good game here. The Lakers played what JJ Redick called their best first half, and then almost they should have blown this game, but they did hold on to the win there. So yeah, expecting pretty much this is pretty stable. We know what the 9-man rotation is going to be. That's been perhaps one of the most stable rotations in the league. Sometimes sometimes D'Lo doesn't close, but every night we know the 9, unless it's some narrative where Bronny sneaks in there.
Yep. All right, Detroit side of things, they are on the second night of a back-to-back here. They were in Brooklyn yesterday, played well in Brooklyn yesterday. The injury notes are the same here. Still no Bobby Klimpman, still no Ausar Thompson with the return to competition reconditioning tag. So it looks like the same 9 that we saw yesterday would be my assumption. What are your notes on the Pistons?
Yeah, they're playing well, man. They keep kind of hanging around. They got blown out against the Knicks, but in general, they've hung around relative to spread and all that good stuff. So yeah, Jaden Ivey, the minutes are there every night. Cade's been playing a ton. Nice bounce back game from Duren, and then Hardaway keeps starting and playing pretty well for them. So yeah, very very stable rotation. Ron Holland's been sticking down a little bit, but yeah, pretty much know what we're getting here. We did see a couple games going to the Knicks, partly because they were trailing. But they went some super small Marcus Sasser, Tobias Harris at the 5, and a bunch of guards lineup. That was, I think, based on this game. I think that was kind of like, oh my God, we're getting killed. We need some shooting and some. I think the word was punch, according to Bickerstaff. So mostly throwing that one out, but we did sneak in like a minute of possible small ball lineup there.
Yeah, I think it was the results of the game, and also Duren was in foul trouble, so it was just like it was kind of like let's just try this and see if we can try something, throw it against the wall. The one thing that I'll note on the Pistons just generally is one of the things that we talked about a lot, kind of coming into the season, was that they had this push and pull between developmental focuses on young players and fit with the roster in terms of who needs to play. And Ausar Thompson's injury has helped that shake out a little bit in the sense that they don't have to worry about squeezing in Ausar Thompson minutes. But notice that the biggest minutes that they're going to from these like non kind of core players from a contract perspective or maybe long-term perspective are Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and Simone Fontecchio. Those are the shooters on this team, right? Those are the guys who can space the floor on this team. It's not going as much to Ron Holland. Isaiah Stewart's been, just a center with Jalen Duren. And so I think that's one of the interesting things about this is I think one of the things that's helping Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham is just the fact that they've decided to focus a little bit more on those two's development by floor spacing around them, as opposed to the other players who aren't the floor spacers who are young. Right now, Asar's hurt, so we'll see what happens when and if he returns. And Ron Holland right now is getting de-emphasized because of that. But I think that's good for Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham to see the floor spacers getting more consistent playing time. Okay, let's go to the Boston and Atlanta game. Boston side, Jaylen Brown remains out. He missed last game with a left hip flexor strain. He'll miss this one as well. Sam Hauser is listed as available with lower back injury management. And then, of course, Kristaps Porzingis still remains out. So what do you expect to see from the Celtics tonight without Jaylen Brown?
Probably running the Cornet thing again, right? Like that lineup went pretty well. They got a win, a pretty tight win in a baseball series back-to-back with the Hornets. So expecting that to happen again. Pritchard, man, just keeps playing and playing a ton, so should be pretty good minutes there. Again, Jason Tatum's minutes were cut. He actually was subbed in pretty late in the fourth because they're they kind of had it going, a little bit of run in the fourth. And so he was late, and then they brought JT, and he closed the game out really strong. So, yeah, basically running the situation back. Jaylen Brown did get an MRI. He's called day-to-day, according to Joe Mazzulla. So maybe one or two more. They're certainly going to be careful. This team's 6-1 and pretty much just going to walk, unless the Cavs push them. They're going to walk to a 1 seed.
Yeah, the Drew Holiday was the note for me here in this one, along with Luke Cornett starting. But back-to-back gets up to 35 minutes. That's encouraging. We haven't seen that kind of minute ceiling often from Drew Holiday so far this season. So it's kind of just a reminder that, hey, while this Boston team's depth is certainly improved by the steps forward that Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard took, it's not improved enough that when they're down a guy, they're not going to lean on the main guys heavily, right? Like, we're still going to see that. Horford here only gets to 27 minutes, and he sat the first round of the back-to-back, so maybe, Cornette playing really well kind of kept him down a little bit. But Tatum, White, Holiday, if Brown's out, the minutes ceiling is still there, despite, back-to-backs and whatnot. We saw that last game. Okay, Atlanta. No Bogdan Bogdanovic, no Kobe Buffkin, no DeAndre Hunter, no Vic Krejci, no Seth Lundy, and no Cody Zeller. Mm-hmm. What are your notes on the Hawks? The good news, I suppose, is they played well last night, and Dyson Daniels is not listed on the injury report. So what do we expect to see from the Hawks?
Yeah, we are going to get Onyeka Okongwu back. This was a management thing, back-to-back. Talked about this the last time they played back-to-back, that they could manage Okongwu here, so that's what they did. So he'll be back playing his normal minutes. We'll see how many he does play. This does seem like a bit of a spot where they could play more Okongwu. Usually when they play bigger, there was a comment, they wanted to get Capella out there for the Joval minutes. So maybe Okongwu could be ahead after he's been like basically even or trailing Capella after running really hot, had the career high game in the opener there. So yeah, expecting Capella to start, same starting lineup here. You mentioned Dyson was just killed it from a efficiency standpoint, much to our chagrin with the under. We'll see what this does to Larry Nance. Larry Nance, we saw him start that one game and then play 8 minutes and grand opening, Graham closing. So we'll see if he could find minutes. Probably not too many in this matchup. I don't think they want to play very big. Garrison Matthews and King Wallace keeps playing well, man. He keeps kind of coming in there for minutes. I think he's kind of locked down minutes, even with Dyson Daniels back, to maybe even like cover that spot to be like his straight backup there as well. So yeah, and then like Hunter's. We talked about this last week. He has so many knee injuries, and getting those Q tags now, they're just rolling them out. So I think it's probably safe to say at this point that like Riche is just going to keep that job because Hunter just can't play that many minutes anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the case. All right, Memphis and Brooklyn. Memphis, no Desmond Bane, no Gigi Jackson, no Luke Kennard, no Marcus Smart, no Vince Williams, no Cam Spencer, and a doubtful tag on John Conchar. So unfortunately, we're at that point in the season already with Memphis after finishing last season where they were just super, super thin. They're managing their way through it. They're 4-3, got a nice road win in Philadelphia here with basically this same group of characters available. They played more of a 9. Usually in the past, they're a 10-man rotation. So that was kind of interesting to see from a fantasy perspective. What's your expectation tonight for Memphis?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Jalen Wells. On top of shooting the ball pretty well, picking up pretty important defensive assignments. He was the primary on Maxey in this game. I think that's going to continue. They really like him in that role. So I think he's kind of locked this thing down and after the game, Taylor Jenkins said that he will continue to get more opportunities even when guys come back. So he's really, really stepped up and earned minutes. And then, Santi, we were like, what's going on? Man, the Memphis lineup thing is just tilting us so bad. Like people who really follow NBA and look for like, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
There's just there's no beat coverage of Memphis in a way that is helpful to people that are playing daily fantasy or betting on the or whatever. There's just no news or information from Memphis ever. And then the ways to get information on Memphis via like this NBA lineups page, there's always wrong with them. So we never know who's going to start until like basically the game starts. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, can't stand it. But they have a Grind City Media. They've got all these people that cover the team.
Yeah.
But like none of
people love the team. It's just it's just the death of journalism, right? There's just not beats kind of traveling with them.
Yep. I think Aldama will start again. We saw him start the last game. He started 2 in a row now, so I think he would start. And then John Morant just absolutely flame throwing. From a passing standpoint, all that good stuff. So it should be mostly a run it back situation. Scottie Pippen playing really good defense has earned a pretty big role as well.
Yeah, good spot for Memphis. Obviously, catching Brooklyn here on a back-to-back. Brooklyn didn't have to travel though, but for the back-to-back notes on Brooklyn today. No Ben Simmons on that back-to-back, lower back injury management illness. No Trendon Watford, no Derek Whitehead, no Bojan Bogdanovic, and then questionable, no Darren Sharp. Questionable tags on Noah Clowney and Jalen Martin. So front court depth issues if we consider Ben Simmons more of a center these days, since him and Claxton have been kind of, rotating. This should get Claxton in that starting lineup, but then no Darren Sharp behind him, which has been the case all year, and maybe no Noah Clowney as well against a Memphis team that likes to play really big. This is an interesting matchup one. What are your expectations on what we see from Brooklyn tonight?
Yeah, don't know what's up with Clowney. I didn't really see anything happen with him. Nothing to note there. So maybe he's in, maybe he's out. I don't think it's back-to-back related. He's really young, so he should be in there. But because he missing, and if he might start. There was a comment from Jordy Fernandez saying yesterday that they want to see how Nick Claxton responds to back-to-backs, and I mentioned this in our Slack that the Ben Simmons Q tag yesterday, which was annoying because okay, we have to do minutes twice. Right. I think that was just a heads up. Okay, is Claxton able to play back-to-back? So that's kind of what it is now. So he should be in there. Probably have a little bit of a cap on him. Probably not playing upper 20s regardless. But again, Fernandez saying they want to get him through this back-to-back and then start him. So I think the plan is bring him off the bench one more, and then this question we've been asking since freaking September, who's going to start? Minus 21 net rating, I think it was, with Claxton and Simmons last year. So we'll see. But for now, I think if Clowney's healthy, I think they might start him and bring Claxton off the bench for one more time. And then also should know Trendon Watford setback. We saw him get upgraded last week, but has missed the last couple games. Jordy Fernandez said they want to get him right. So he had a bit of a setback in his hamstring recovery, who should have been back already. So he's still out, ruling him out right away. But yeah, other than that, just pretty good at game to attack. Memphis first in transition points. Overall, so it should be a pretty fun game environment.
All right, Sacramento and Miami. On the Sacramento side of things, Kevin Huerter is listed questionable with illness here. He missed, was it the last game he missed for a back-to-back, I thought it was? So illness here. It was illness for that one too?
Yep.
Okay, so still battling whatever he's battling. Questionable tonight. It's not the South Beach flu because he was out the game before. Could be the Toronto flu. But without Kevin Huerter, we saw last game, it was a little bit of a surprise. Doug McDermott slid into the starting lineup. We expected Keon Ellis to grab more of those minutes. That did end up happening, but just the fit offensively, because they do a lot of dribble handoff stuff, they need a guy kind of coming in, flying off screens. Doug McDermott ended up being the starter who kind of worked in there. They got off to a decent start early in this game, and then the second quarter, the end of the first quarter, they kind of fell apart. What are your expectations for Kevin Huerter's availability tonight?
Let's shoot around early for illness. I mean, maybe hey, go home, feel better. So it sounds like he could miss this one. Don't have a great read, never do for illnesses. And I think that they would start it again. I call this to Dwayne Casey, where they take a third unit guy and then put him in the first unit. And Mike Brown said, I'd rather fix that than rework my whole rotation. So you should see first quarter rotations, third quarter rotation out of Doug, and that's it. But yeah, I would expect Huerter to be, probably a little bit on the mid side. He's been playing pretty well from that shoulder injury. So, but yeah, obviously if he didn't play, Malik Monk, 38 minutes in an overtime game. And the other thing we got to talk about again, 43. Yep. Mike Brown said after the game that he's trying to get these guys down, but he can't do it. He just doesn't have any faith in anybody else to play. And he said that, all these heavy minutes on the screen will not affect his thoughts today. So he's trying to do it, but I don't think he can. So, you're getting massive condensed minutes here, which is fantasy gold. It's kind of helped, this, you should squeeze. We were worried about. It doesn't matter if you're playing freaking 38 or 39 a night.
There was also a report that De'Aaron Fox is battling a wrist issue as well. He's not listed on the injury report, but any details you want to share there?
Yeah, something he's going to play through. We'll see if this affects him. But yeah, Jason Alexander noted that Fox has this little wrist thing, so we'll keep an eye on it overall. But he's pretty much healthy here.
Yep. Okay. Miami side, Jaime Jaquez Jr. questionable injury, illness, stomach gastroenteritis as he returns from the game in Mexico. Jaime, don't drink the water. If you did, worried for you. Keyshawn Johnson and Josh Christopher listed out here. What's your notes on Jaime Jaquez tonight?
Yeah, I had the same thought with the stomach illness listing. So yeah, hopefully he's okay. He was the talk of the pressers because he's the Mexican game and he was out there. So just a random note. If he can't go, it would be pieced together here. They are getting Duncan Robinson back, so that would account for, you're basically getting a 1-for-1 there. And then Pelle Larsson was pretty good off the bench in this game. He's, I think, earned it according to Spo. There was some questions about him, so he may be sneaking in there. Really tough, to parse through this second unit. We see freaking, Haywood Highsmith play 20-something minutes and then not play at all. We see Alec Burks play and then not play at all and then play 29. Really, really tough to do projections for this team. So we're kind of hedging all over the place as well. But and then we talked about this in the Slack. Not too many minutes. Spo actually said they did kind of like keep it in check a little bit for the altitude up there. But yeah, other than that, we'll see. But like I said, with Duncan back, and also should note Kevin Love also not listed. So adding that body as well could add some depth. So they've got plenty of bodies. It's just we don't know who fills out the 8, 7, 8, 9, and 10 sometimes for this team.
All right, let's move to Utah and Chicago. On the Utah side, Jordan Clarkson listed out, Isaiah Collier out, Taylor Hendricks out, Micah Potter, Jason Preston out, Colin Sexton available, and Lauri Markkanen listed doubtful. Markkanen was at shoot-around, so there was some hope that he might be able to play tonight. He was originally listed questionable, but they immediately listed him doubtful. So I think that's a pretty good sign that he's not going to play, even in the return to Chicago, the only one that they have all year. Low back spasms is the tag for Lowry. And then Colin Sexton, the available tag, is very specific on the injury report. Left fourth finger avulsion fracture. So what are your notes on Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen?
Yeah, parts of shoot around for Lauri, so they'll hold him out here, but definitely sounds like he's going to be back perhaps Wednesday or whenever they play. I assume it's Wednesday. A lot of teams play Wednesday. Sexton's going to play through this injury. They noted it the same day they ruled out Jordan Clarkson as well, so expect him to start. This team is playing absolutely terrible. Only team without a win, 0-6. I think that Cleaning the Glass has their expected wins for 82 at like 7.7 with how poorly they're playing. I also think they're the worst team against the spread, which is not surprising when you're 0-6. But and it's by like a lot too. But I digress. Kyle Filipowski will get the start again here, assuming Lauri doesn't go. Cody Williams, hey, look at those shots, man! 11 shots for Cody. Didn't make them, but hey, we like it. And Keontae George has been kind of meh overall this year. Not too hurt. Will Hardy wasn't really concerned with anyone specifically, but the turnovers, man, this team is just absolutely getting killed in turnovers, giving up the most transition points in the NBA. I think they're second or third in catch and shoot points against. They're just like giving up so much easy stuff. Just absolutely fantasy gold mine here.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation for them, right? Because they're very focused on development, obviously, but Keontae's been very, very turnover prone throughout his career so far. He's a late bloomer when it comes to like being a point guard. So all of this is like kind of learning at when he normally in a player's progression at this level, he has the experience of like an early college player in terms of point guard, and he's trying to play it at the NBA. It's just like not translating super well. Sexton historically has been a low turnover player, but in this game he had 4 turnovers in 26 minutes, and his turnover rate spiked as well. So it's been a struggle for them early in the season. And then on top of that, they play 11 guys in this last game. It's difficult to find fantasy value unless you're finding it, pretty cheap and on a daily basis. Season long leagues, it's like tough. Walker Kessler got here in blowout in a big way, played like all the blowout in the fourth quarter. So for my guy, Walker Kessler, I was very happy for the stats, but it was a pretty rough go the first 3 quarters when the game was like, when the Nuggets were playing their starters, he had done nothing, and then he just crushed garbage time in this one.
Yeah, and with the turnover, look how many guys have 2 or more turnovers on the screen. It's just insane.
It's real bad. Yeah. All right. Let's move to the Bulls. Lonzo Ball listed out with that right wrist sprain here. Jalen Smith listed probable with the left knee effusion. We'll see. Patrick Williams listed probable right shoulder strain. Probable tag for Josh Giddey with non-COVID related illness, and then Zach LaVine questionable with the right adductor strain. What are your expectations on Zach LaVine's availability tonight?
Yeah, new tag. We saw him have that shoulder injury. He had a big old shoulder pad on him, and since returning from this injury. Hasn't been affected. This is an injury that is new and is concerning. So we'll see if he could go up there and suit it up. Don't have any notes besides that. Other than that, if he didn't play, it would certainly be Ayo Dosunmu getting in the starting lineup, and then also making really stable minutes for Josh Giddey, Patrick Williams, and all those guys. So we'll see if he can go out there, and then probable tags. Hopefully Jalen Smith can go out there and be okay. But yeah, I mean, this is just like such a good matchup. If Levine didn't play, like, I don't know how chalky Kobe White and Giddey would be, but my God, man, like the ceiling is absurd.
Very would be my guess. The other interesting note that I've had so far as I was doing some of our baseline and rate checks earlier today, Ayo Dosunmu seems to be the guy who's benefiting a ton from Andre Drummond's absence. If you remember, Andre Drummond, just an absolute rebounding machine last year in the Bulls' second unit. Jalen Smith has not rebounded to that level that Andre Drummond has, and it seems like Ayo Dosunmu is kind of picking up the extra rebounds early in the season. He's actually put up some like diversified box scores despite relatively limited minutes off the bench. Okay, New York and Houston on the New York side. Cam Payne listed doubtful here, hamstring strain. Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson and Kevin McCullough are still out. So Tyler Kolek time for Cam Payne's spot in the rotation. What are your expectations for the Knicks tonight?
Yeah, I don't have much on Cam Payne. Did play in this game pretty late. So, but yeah, they blew him out. They've been off since Friday. So, bit of surprise to see that on there. Cat not listed is a good. Yeah, as you mentioned, if he didn't play, certainly do pick up those minutes. I'm not 100% sure that Kolek would get out there. Maybe they'd play.
That would be a 7-man rotation if Kolek's.
Well, no, I'm going to say they're going to play Diodate or something like that. They're going to add that instead.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, they're not going to tighten it like that. I'm just saying. Okay. I don't think they have. They've got enough ball handling. Is kind of my point. So that would be it. That would be hedging that. So yeah. I haven't checked their minutes yet, but yeah. Coming off a big win, Mint's pretty strong. Freaking Tibbs doesn't like to take guys out, even they're blowing people out. But yeah, nice to see Cat respond from that left wrist injury that I talked about last week that he's hurt multiple times, like somewhat severely, needed a procedure one time.
Yeah, and we can make the joke of campaign being doubtful on the last day to campaign before the election season. All right. Houston Rockets side, Steven Adams, a questionable right knee injury recovery here. The G Leaguers are listed out. What are your notes on Steven Adams?
Yeah, perhaps one of the most interesting things that happened on Saturday, it's not Steven Adams. It's two things. One, Alfred Sengun went to the locker room, but Udoka didn't even know he went to the locker room because you see on screen he got cut bad. 21 minutes, did not play well against the Warriors. And who benefited? That would be Tari Eason, who went off in this game, brought them back after a massive, massive deficit. And the minutes limit sounds like it's gone. They're trying to like keep him tamped down a little bit, but he's still got the freaking 35. We knew they were really limiting him. They were limiting him in the preseason earlier in the year. It sounds like that minutes limit's coming off. So Sengun's minutes are a little bit more vulnerable now because Tari Eason's a pretty awesome player here. Arguably the best games he's ever played to bring them back. So yeah, that's my only really note there. But nice to see he's not listed. It sounds like it was pretty minor overall. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll see. This is our I was a big Sengun bear last year because I was worried about stuff like this, and that's what happened. So unlikely to happen, but it's definitely in the range of outcomes now. With Tari being healthy now,
pretty unique matchup for it to happen against Golden State, who generally is like really tough on bigger, slower guys in space. But this is the same thing with Dylan Brooks, right? In this game, he fouls out, so he gets stuck at 27 minutes. But his minutes have been really secure early in the season, and we've been waiting. Like, is Cam Whitmore going to make a run at him? Is Amen Thompson going to make a run at him? Is Reed Shepherd going to make a run at him? We haven't really seen it yet. So Dylan Brooks' minutes have been super, super stable early in the season. But all of this, like, we know Houston's a deeper team than they've shown early in the season. We're waiting to see how it kind of settles itself out. Because so far, the minutes on the starters have been really solid, except Sengun, who's had, one game with foul trouble, and then this game that he got cut down as well. All right, Charlotte and Minnesota. Charlotte side of things, Brandon Miller listed questionable again with the left glute strain injury management tag. No Nick Richards, no Mark Williams. There was, I saw someone in our Discord post an update on Mark Williams that they're thinking maybe a week or so away, but who knows on that front. What are your notes on the Hornets tonight?
Yeah, the Miller thing seems pretty good. I was trying to find out if he was going to play, and then all the post game commentary was about getting him going, yada yada yada, his play. So yeah, it sounds like he should be pretty close to being in there. I got the wrong box up, my bad. But yeah, so I think he should be in there, getting in the starting lineup there. Let me switch it. Sorry about that. Yeah, played 31 minutes in the last game. Josh Green continued to start, and Trey Mann's minutes were cut a little bit. But yeah, expecting him back out there. No Nick Richards, getting ruled out pretty early. Probably a sign he's going to miss more time. So Grant Williams. I don't think this was matchup based. We felt really good about him starting against Boston, but I expect Grant Williams to hold down that starting job. Charles Lee said they're going to kind of like platoon it with 4 centers and Grant Williams, Diabate, Saloon, who would probably play a pretty good bit if Miller can't go for some reason. And then Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson snuck in there for 4 minutes. So, but yeah, I expect Miller to play.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because on the other side, there's a center injury that could impact kind of the rotations here as well. So Minnesota's got Rudy Gobert listed questionable with the left ankle sprain. Their G Leaguers are listed out here as well. But you would think like combination of questionable tag, left ankle sprain, team that wants to play fast and 5 out and spread you out. It doesn't sound like the best scenario for Rudy Gobert here. But what are your expectations on his availability tonight?
Yeah, don't really have any notes on Gobert. I didn't see anything that happened to him. If anyone in chat saw, but so I think he's going to play. Obviously, if he didn't, they would just go ahead and probably start Naz Reid. I don't think it's Luka time yet. But yeah, and then one point I wanted to note here. We think that the Hornets always play so fast. It's like mellow. They're not. I think they're 25th in offensive pace. Their pace is down. Their transitions like average-ish. And then the Wolves are playing really slow. I think they're 28th in offensive pace. So this is kind of a somewhat you think it'd be like awesome. And maybe it's just small sample-y and matchup-y, but was surprised to see some of the pace stats I look up are so down on the Hornets. But yeah, I think Gobert's in. Like I didn't really see anything. So yeah, again, if he didn't play, we would bring Luka Garza in the rotation. Josh Minot, who snuck in there the last game for the back-to-back, he would be really secure and play some here. But nice to see that Minot iced Joe Ingles didn't take long.
That was going to be my note here was, I mean, it looked like they were running like a more straight kind of 9-man rotation. And then they tightened things up a little bit midway through the game. And then they let it go at the end, let go of the rope at the end when the game got out of hand. But I do wonder if Gobert was unavailable tonight. Naz Reid, I agree, slides in the starting lineup. Josh, Minot, minutes slide up as well. I wonder, I think it's Garza, but in this, I don't know in this matchup, because there's not like really a true other backup big center there. It might just be Ingles, right? And then play like Julius Randle as a small ball 5.
No, I think they'll play. I feel pretty confident they'd play Luka.
Okay, cool.
One other note, if I can. These two teams are top 3 in 3-point rate, both behind the Celtics. Minnesota number 2, and then Hornets number 3.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got any questions for Anthony Edwards on them, those 3-pointers, he's got some notes for you. All right, Orlando and Oklahoma City. On the Orlando side of things, no Paolo Banchero. Wendell Carter Jr. was listed questionable on the 130 injury report, but I saw someone mention that he had been moved to out. I'm updating myself with a 230 injury report now to see, yes, he has been listed as out now. Goga Bitadze listed as available. So their injury report is a little bit cleaned up here. They're on the second night of back-to-back. Second night of back-to-back without Paolo Banchero and Wendell Carter Jr. going into the buzzsaw that is the Oklahoma City Thunder does not feel like a great spot. What are your expectations for Orlando tonight?
Yeah, we had Wendell out before we got this news and projections. He was not moving well yesterday. We were like, oh my God, get him out of there. Like, why you're limping around? Why are you even in the game right now? So yeah, he's out probably multiple games with how bad that looked. A guy who's generally been a slow healer. So that raises the question, who starts? And based on what we've seen previously, it's Goga Bitadze, which I'll get to. But Chris Leet had the stat in our Slack. He said I think it was 27 games without Wendell. Goga started all but one of them, and the game he didn't was because he couldn't play. So it should be Goga, but like how many it should be like if Goga was healthy, we'd be like, okay, it's Goga. But like coming off a foot tendon injury, missed some time here. He could be limited, so we're kind of hedging that a little bit. It should be him. Mo Wagner started the second half for Wendell, which they had to do. And then Tristan da Silva got the start here. Kind of a pro-ready guy. Expecting him to start regardless. So it's just a matter of if it's going to be Goga or if it's going to be Mo Wagner. Again, it's tied to Goga's health. If they feel good about Goga playing 20 plus minutes, I think he's starting. And then the Jet Howards, Anthony Blacks, all those guys, kind of piece together. I don't think they want to play Jonathan Isaac more than 20 most nights.
Yeah, and who knows on a back-to-back, right? Like how much they want to extend him. So the other note I'd have there is that it might be Goga's health is number one most important thing, but also might be, hey, without Paolo, like it's harder to get away. It's harder to have a starting lineup that just doesn't has so much offensive responsibility on Franz and Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
And so maybe Mo is there, but then your second unit doesn't have. So like there's no good solutions here. Obviously center has been one of the few spots that you've been able to attack OKC over the years. So I know a lot of people are excited about Mo Wagner and the potential minutes upside, but Goga's availability certainly leaks into that. Okay. Oklahoma City Thunder. They're without Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, the big, Kenrich Williams, Nikola Topic, Adam Flagler, and Alex Dukas. It's the same injury report we've seen pretty much all season so far. What are your expectations on what we see from the Thunder tonight, and who is the starter du jour as we see kind of the core four and then a rotating starter each day? Who is your guess today on who the Thunder start?
I kind of think Isaiah Joe. I think you want a little more spacing, but I've been wrong every time, so I don't know. Maybe it's Kaysen, but I don't have any confidence. We just hedge this thing. So, but yeah, the headline to me is like, God, their defense is so good. Like, it's insane. My favorite stat I look up every morning after they play. They're 0.44 points per possession against pick and roll handlers. Like, are you kidding me? Just good luck scoring on this team with the ball in your hand. So they're awesome. Are they in the Boston tier at this point? Like, I think they are. I mean, that's how good they are. So I don't have much else to add. And one other note, AJ Mitchell's been kind of earning some minutes here and there. Not so much this last game, but he's been great. Yeah, this team is just so good.
I mean, that's the astronaut meme since the signing of Caruso and Hartenstein, right? Like always were in Boston's tier once they added those guys. I mean, it's so much depth and such a great playoff rotation when we get there. The Thunder are really, really special. Okay, Portland and New Orleans. On the Portland side of things, no Shaedon Sharpe, Matisse Thybulle, but Robert Williams III is listed probable. So we might get the debut of Robert Williams III. Their G Leaguers are out here. The center stuff is like a little bit tricky, right? Because Klingon hasn't even been able to get the full backup minutes from DeAndre Ayton. Sometimes they don't play him in garbage time because they've got Reith and they've got Walker and other guys that they want to get a look at. Well, now here comes Robert Williams, who you would think got to be on a very strict plan to try to keep him as healthy as possible, to try to showcase him, to try to send him to a team that needs a center that's still hunting at the deadline. But what are your expectations on if we see Robert Williams break into the rotation tonight?
He might. I mean, he's been ramping for a bit. He's been jogging since October 11th. And I think, as you mentioned, like, they're being real careful here. Like, do not go out there and get hurt again. So I think he's going to be in there. And does that cut Klingon out? I don't know. Is he just like emergency third center? I think that's possible. I haven't got to the minutes yet, but I think I would kind of lean he doesn't play just because I think they don't want to cut Klingon out. Curious on your thoughts, and just some other notes before I hand it back to you. Delano Banton kind of comes out of nowhere. We'll talk about the Suns almost blowing this game when we get there, but really, really strong. What's called the X Factor from Billups. He's been kind of dead as they've been looking more at Rupert. Murray and all those guys have cut it. But Banton may have earned minutes here because he played so well. Obviously, that outrageous second half he had last season. Really nice comeback. Everyone, this team, I didn't pull the trigger yet, but I think Portland wins this game, man. We got Zion's injury news. We'll talk about that in a second.
So Banton, I'm hopeful that he gets more of a shot because he played so well at the end of last season that it's just a shame that he came into the season without kind of getting a real crack at kind of a core rotation piece. And then Klingon, I just want to note, man, he's a rookie player. He's young. He's got Gobert level upside defensively. Like, he is outrageous defensively. The amount of guys that like do the Wemby drive in and then like circle back out and like just like cannot possibly get shots off on him. So I'm really bullish on his development as a defensive priority center. I have no idea if the offense ever comes along because he's so limited offensively right now. But I think what he's shown so far this year would make it that it's like hard to take minutes from him. He's not getting that many as is. So I'm a little skeptical of whether Robert Williams gets in the rotation. I think we have to project him for some, but I'm pretty skeptical there. Okay. New Orleans side, no Trey Murphy, no CJ McCollum, no Herb Jones, no DeJounte Murray. That's basically a starting lineup's worth of, players for the Pelicans, and then questionable tags on Jordan Hawkins and Zion Williamson. And those are probably that's probably their 6 best players right there
Mm-hmm.
that are questionable or out tonight. So the lower back tightness is the tag for Jordan Hawkins, and then right thigh soreness is the tag for Zion Williamson. What are your notes here on those two?
Yeah, that's good for Zion. I'd rather him have a thigh tag than a hamstring tag. It looked like, based on some of the pregame shooting stuff, that he had like no chance to play yesterday. Now maybe, and I think if you made me guess what that was, I guess it was back-to-back related. So I think he's in, but this is just, I have like no firm answer there. We don't really have much to go on. Hopefully we get more information later, but I think he's got an okay chance to play. If he, as I mentioned, if he doesn't play, I'm rolling. I'm running to get Portland in this game. And then, yeah, as expected, if he didn't play, it will be Javonte Green. As you mentioned, Jordan Hawkins continues to get this back tag that he's, besides that Q tag, the messaging has been pretty positive. So I'd expect him to be pretty full here. And then, Brandon Boston has been playing pretty well. He would also benefit if Zion was out again. But I think Zion's got an okay chance to play it. And again, that tag listing is somewhat encouraged. Usually when the tag changes, it's bad.
Yeah.
I actually think this is kind of good.
Yeah, and we'll note Zion struggled in this matchup earlier in the season. A lot of length that Portland has out there. Tamani and Jeremy Grant and Denny Avdia and Klingon and Ayton, like they just have long arms and hands, and they're just like, they're trying to build this roster in a way that is to be a little bit more chaotic defensively, even if they don't have guys who are great at staying in front feet wise. But he struggled in that first game against them, so it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of get back at them at home tonight.
Yeah. All right. If I could add to that, the Pelicans only scored 29.5 rim points per game in those 2 games they played against Portland, and Portland's first in rim possessions allowed per game. They've been, they're switched. Their size on the outside has really been able to keep, especially when they gave away 58 points in an opener. Portland's playing well, man. Shout out to Billups.
Yeah. All right, Indiana and Dallas. On the Indiana side, Andrew Nembhard listed questionable with that left knee soreness. Aaron Nesmith is out here with a left ankle sprain. And they're, of course, without the centers, Isaiah Jackson and James Weissman, both Achilles tears this year. So what are your expectations on what we see from the Pacers in the absence of Aaron Nesmith and the questionable tag on Andrew Nembhard?
Yeah, that's really bad look for Nesmith. And then, this team is getting really hurt here. Both their centers are out for Achilles tears. So it's bad. But without let's talk about Nembhard. We talked about this on Friday, where he went out there, played, found out after the game that Carlisle found out during the national anthem that he had knee tendonitis, and he's been listed since. We kind of knew he wasn't going to play the next game, so kind of leaning him out here. We have him in, but definitely could see him miss. Obviously, if he didn't play, that would be Benedict Mathurin starting. And then, as you mentioned, you do have Aaron Nesmith out for this one. Sounds like he's going to miss multiple games here. So that raises the question, who's next? If Nembhard is in, do they play Benedict Mathurin as well? I kind of don't think so. If I had to rank that with Nembhard, I think so. Again, I don't think Mathurin could start, but I think that if it was Nembhard in, it would be, for me, Ben Shepherd, who I'll talk about in a second, Jarris Walker, who was the backup 3, has lost his job because Ben Shepherd's playing really well, 20 points in the last game. And then, multiple guard look with Mathurin. How many minutes does Shepherd play? Coming off 2 really good games. The rebound had a big rebound a couple games ago, and then drops 20 the last game. So I feel pretty good that Ben Shepherd's going to start with this one, almost regardless. But and then the Isaiah Jackson situation, he's out. Enrique Freeman could play some minutes here, but I think that bringing Jarris off the bench and then having that kind of Jarris OB front court pairing and staggering in a little bit of Siakam to add some size there, I think is kind of how they're going to play it. So I would lean Shepherd starting here until we get Nesmith back.
Yeah, I agree with you that I think that Nesmith spot is more thought of as a defensive spot than an offensive spot, and Mathurin's offense is sort of priority in the second unit. So I agree with you that Shepherd would be more likely than Mathurin to start alongside Nembhard, and then if Nembhard's out, I think things get more likely leaning in the direction of Benny Mathurin. Okay, Dallas side, no Maxi Kleber, no Dante Exum, no Kessler Edwards or Brandon Williams here. It's basically the same injury report we've had for the last 2 or 3 games for them. Yep. What are your expectations on Dallas? They just buried Orlando last night.
Yeah, not much to say. Nice to see the minutes were somewhat light here in a blowout, so it could be normal-ish. Yeah, don't really have much to say. Quentin Grimes played okay off the bench. So yeah, we've got a pretty good feel for this rotation. Hardy's kind of lost a little bit of his luster. It looks like Spencer Dinwiddie, after falling behind, has kind of taken the charge there for one of their main bench guards.
All right, Toronto and Denver. On the Toronto side, no Scotty Barnes, no Bruce Brown, no Kelly Olynyk. Emmanuel quickly still listed doubtful, third game in a row, so there's been no improvement on that right pelvic contusion. And then a couple G Leaguers, Carton and Chomsky, listed out as well. What are your expectations for the Raptors tonight?
Yeah, should be the same lineup. Two pretty good games from Ochai Agbaji. Defensively, kind of guarding LeBron, and this one he scores freaking 22 against the Kings while guarding DeMar as well. So, yeah, expecting the same starting lineup here. Grady Dick continues to play well. I call him Fancy Klay Thompson, and he's going to lose that with how well he's playing, how Klay's not. Klay has been a slow starter. But yeah, obviously, you've got a lot of spread concerns here for this game, but expecting the same starting lineup. RJ just is playing so well right now.
Yeah.
He's been just killing it every night. And then, yeah, Chris Boucher is back to life. Getting the center minutes again. We knew last year, and then Nick Nurse would not play him as a center, really. He's playing power forward. So he's back. Mobo's minutes have not really come up. And Jacoby Walter, after playing a little bit more in his return, kind of got cut back down here. So, yeah, pretty heavy minutes for the starters, which I think could continue. This bench depth isn't that great.
Yeah, overtime aided, and then Mobo got into foul trouble as well, which he ended up fouling out. But yeah, I mean, Agbaji and Dick have played well the last couple of games, and then Pirtle's played great all season, and RJ Barrett, when he's been healthy, has been great all season. So, and then Davion Mitchell is your point guard in the situation. So like the five have sorted themselves out very clearly. The big question has been like Mobo versus Agbaji, basically, in terms of like defensive role, and Agbaji has won the last two games on that front. Okay, Denver side, no Jamal Murray, still in concussion protocol. No Deron Holmes or PJ Hall. Flacco Conchar is doubtful with a right ankle sprain, and then Aaron Gordon is listed probable with a right knee contusion and right calf inflammation. And I don't want to send up warning signs here too badly on Denver, because they should be able to manage Gordon through this a little bit, but they cannot afford to lose Aaron Gordon in any way, shape, or form. So seeing multiple notes on the right leg, knee, and calf are a little bit alarming for me as a Nuggets supporter. So what are your notes here on the Nuggets?
Yeah, so Jamal, going through some on-court work today, which is a good sign. Michael Malone said he was expecting it to be 5 to 7 days. So you're talking it maybe being ready for the next one, but obviously he's out today. That'll get Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup. It sounds pretty stable, according to Malone. So I was considering that they might bring in Strawther and run point Joker, which they've done before. But it sounds like they're just going to roll with Russ and keep him in that lineup. So expecting the starting lineup for sure. And then the second unit, we found out before the game that Michael Malone said they are going to lean on Hunter Tyson, who's been just all over the place with Buzz. Played great and earned a role. So he'll be sticking in the rotation here. Peyton Watson and then Julian Strawther, who's been talked up a pretty good bit. Michael Malone said he's been their most consistent bright spot off the bench. So Strawther's minutes quite secure here as well. And then the other note was DeAndre Jordan icing Dario Saric after the game. Michael Malone said that DeAndre was, quote, effective with his minutes. And he said that, they had kind of a 5-game sample with this Dario thing. He didn't like it. So he said it wasn't Dario's fault, yada, yada, yada. But it sounds like he wants to get like another 5-game sample without Dario with DeAndre here. I don't know if you do that in this matchup with the pace that the Raptors play. Yeah. But it does sound like they're going to let DeAndre go out there and, keep Dario on the bench for now.
Yeah, Dario did not look good to start the season. Just looked like something, some sapped athleticism, wasn't able to finish kind of around the rim, and then getting destroyed in pick and roll. The Russ Dario combo defensively was just a disaster in pick and roll coverages. So DeAndre, at least a little bit more size there. So that also helps on the boards. All right, on to Philadelphia and Phoenix. Philadelphia, Paul George, probable. Left knee, bone bruise. Joel Embiid remains out. What do you expect to see in Paul George's debut this season? Any limitations? Who moves out of the starting lineup in Paul George's return?
Yeah, it should be limited. He's talked on his podcast that he's getting on track. So nice to see he's back out there. They need him. They're a disaster. They're, like we said on the podcast, like with the team without these guys, they're like arguably the worst team in the NBA. They got just absolutely manhandled in the second and third against the Grizzlies here. But yeah, I think if he did start, I think it's going to be. I think Lowry would come out. They seem to like Caleb Martin. I don't think they would bench Oubre here, so I would lean Lowry moving to the bench, and then trickle down effect being, how much does Jared McCain play, who played pretty well in this game. Then Eric Gord, maybe he gets cut out a little bit. The KJ Martin maybe play a little bit smaller here. The Yabusele combo minutes that we've like very rarely seen would be off the table here. But yeah, I haven't looked at their minutes yet, but I don't know. I think I would be in the upper 20s here from a knee hyperextension. That was the same knee he did hyperextend last year. So a bit of a history, and a guy who's a little bit older, has had a lot of injuries. I think they'd be pretty careful here, because if it happened again, like we've seen what happens if it happens again, they're dead. So we'll be careful there. We'll see if this affects Maxi's usage. I doubt it. I think he's going to be really busy overall.
Yeah, and this is going to be a tough road trip for Philadelphia. I think it's a 4-game road trip playing all Western Conference teams. I mean, we are staring down the barrel at 1-8, and that's there's thankfully in the Eastern Conference you can overcome that, but it's not the start that Philly intended this year for sure. Phoenix side of things, Bradley Beal remains questionable with this right elbow sprain. What are your notes on Beal's availability tonight?
Should be in there. He was out there, played pretty well in this game, guarded Anthony Simons against the Blazers. Mike Budenholzer said he's been happy with Bradley Beal so far. Yeah, we were a little bit surprised he missed that one game with the Q tag. Went out there, played full, again, looked fine. So I'd expect him to be in there. Would be pretty surprised if he didn't. And then, as I mentioned, the Suns did. They got smoked in the fourth. Mike Budenholzer got hammered with questions after the game. The classic coach is like, "Hey, I don't care about that Suns team." He's like, "Buddy, you were like historically bad in the fourth with a good team."
Yeah.
So they're good to go. Royce is solid. Nice bounce back game from Grayson Allen, who was out for Achilles, and also his wife had a baby to cost him a couple games. He's kind of back in there. Pretty solid rotation. I thought Nurk had a pretty productive game here to slow down Ayton. So for the first time this season, I was doing our minutes for the Suns and actually adjusted Nurk up after when to always pull him down.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very big body that's very useful against other very big bodies.
Yep.
And Andre Drummond is a very big body on the other side tonight. So would make sense to be a potential Nurk spot tonight. All right, San Antonio and the Clippers, last game of the slate to go through here. San Antonio side, no Devin Vassell still, no Trey Jones with the right ankle sprain, and then the G Leaguers are out. What are your notes on the Spurs?
Pop. It sounds like it's not going to be serious, but he's not going to be with the team. It'll be Mitch Johnson, who coached the team here in a very nice win against the Timberwolves. And really the story was a little tighter. You see 38 on Harry B. That's Harrison Barnes, for people who don't know. And then Keldon Johnson played a little bit more. So they ran a little bit tighter as they kind of ran 9. So that's an important note. We'll see if that happens again. Mitch Johnson coached, I think, at least one game last year. I think 2 or 3. I just remember him hearing some pressers last year. So clearly trusted guy. He's been with the team for a little bit. So, but other than that, minutes are pretty strong. Wembanyama has been, even in a back-to-back, was pretty busy. Were they back-to-back? Anyways, his minutes have been pretty strong. Chris Paul playing a pretty good bit. So we can't really go on a 1-game sample. But if they run tight again, then that's a pretty good sign for potential Spurs and DFS, or if you want to play the over game.
Yeah, and please, at God, let Keldon Johnson continue to perform like this. The best ball bags need him, because passing on Jeremy Sohan for Keldon Johnson every time is really feeling bad right now with Sohan's really, really strong start to the season. All right, Clippers side, they're still without Mo Bamba, Kawhi Leonard, PJ Tucker obviously away from the team. So no new notes from an injury perspective. What are your notes on the Clippers tonight?
Don't have much. Are they gonna do it? I was gonna say, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do it today? I think they might. I think that Intuit Dome fans might be happy. If they lose again, Ballmer's gonna lose it. Anyways, should be good to go. Obviously, the matchup's way better than OKC. Don't have really much to say. Matchup. I love this for Harden. I think I covered with him. The Spurs are giving up the most dribble jumpers in the NBA. They've kind of really let that kind of thing go with the way they're covering defenses, which kind of makes sense for Wembanyama. So I think it could be a pretty big Harden game. All
right. That'll do it. Just under an hour, right around an hour. We'll see with the promo times here, but 15 games on the docket. Another NBA injury analysis show in the books. Wanted to shout out at the Dynasty, who made a super comment with appreciating us and our product, and said that he appreciates the analysis for season long and better the appreciation of the game. That is one of the warmest and nicest compliments that you can give. For us, we do love basketball so much. We live and breathe it, and we love sharing that energy around it. And I just wish, in general, more sports coverage in all facets was just more positive about these incredible athletes that we get to watch and watch them do their thing. A lot of the sports media is focused on like tearing down, and there's just so much greatness in and around the league. So we like to bring that. Appreciate you noticing it and appreciating it. Thank you for the comment at the Dynasty. All right,
including you talking about Kuminga, of course.
I like it. I want Kuminga to be his best self. All right.
I had to tease you.
On a content schedule note, there are no NBA games tomorrow. It is election day here in the U.S. So please, if you are eligible to vote, please take advantage of your vote and participate in your democracy. It's really important. And so there are no NBA games. We will be back on Wednesday with another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in checking out our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings, both on the DFS side and on the prop side. And if you're interested in just supporting the free content along the way, the best way to do that is to subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can hit the bell and get notifications whenever we post new content like these shows or podcasts or other content that we're posting to the channel. And of course, you can smash the like button on this video. By you smashing the like button, that helps feed our families by feeding that algorithm and allows us to feed you the NBA injury analysis each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm, get out and vote, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care, everybody.